Okay, we might as well start. Hello, everybody. Thank you guys so much for coming. This is our daily live webinar, really effective Monday next week. I would believe is the 24th. Is that right there? 22nd? Okay. We're going to be doing a live every single day from 12 to 12:30, 365 days a year. It is actually going to be on YouTube, not over Zoom, but that is effective on Monday. So anytime that you have time and you want to come ask questions and you want to get answers to really any single thing about your janitorial business, you just pop on and I'll answer anything for you, okay? But today what we're going to be covering is the 6 steps to hiring your first or next employee. As always, my name is Peter Boland and I'm the owner of One Janitorial. Let's get into it, okay? So first thing, one of the biggest things I get from every single one of our partners, every single possible subcontractor we work with, anytime I do coaching for somebody in the US, where they tend to bump up on issues with is hiring their first employees. What they think is they have to pay them extra money. They can't find good quality people. They're not going to show up. They deliver poor services. It is all these things that they blame as to why they haven't hired an employee or hired multiple employees. And I will agree with you that the people that are out there are sometimes terrible. And it is very, very difficult to find the right person. But if you follow these 6 steps, I can actually guarantee you that your business is going to run smooth and you're going to be a lot more profitable and successful. So one thing I want to get off to right away, and then the step 1 of this is what it is going to be commit. The first step in anything you have to do is you need to commit to hiring employees, not half in, half out. Mistake I see people make is what they'll do is they'll want to hire their first employee. They'll hire one employee. It doesn't go the best. And then they revert back to, well, I'm just going to keep cleaning. So either you're all in or you're all out, no half measures with it. So you need to understand that you are going to commit to hiring employees, and then you're going to dedicate your time to running and operating your business. Okay. And you need to understand that creativity follows commitment. Okay. So the second you make that decision to commit to somebody, what is going to happen is you are going to get a lot more creative in how to really hire these people. Okay. So that's step number 1, commit. Once you commit, you're fine. Step number 2 is find out why somebody would want to work for you. A lot of the time we've even struggled with it here in the office when I had employees for the janitorial company, even with bringing in partners or anybody, we sometimes forget to ask ourselves, why would somebody want to work for our company? And it shouldn't just be, oh, because we pay great, we have 3 weeks holidays. Like those are all little incentives that are great, but you really need to understand and look at why somebody would want to work for your company. Okay, so for our inside staff, what we have is a great culture. We motivate people to be successful. The day they come into this business, we promise them is the dumbest day they're ever going to be here. And by the time they're here for a year, what's going to happen is they're going to change into a completely different person. I could go count 5 heads right now that came in here in their early 20s, were, you know what I mean, nowhere near what they are now. And through our education, training, commitment to their success, they've gone from being a $30,000 employee to making 120 grand a year. Okay, so that's why people come work here, to be transformed into the type of person that they want to be. So for your janitorial company and hiring your cleaners, you need to really decide as to why people would want to work for your company. What I developed in bringing in cleaners was the reason why people would want to work for my company was I allowed them to clean with a partner. I didn't have set times for them to actually show up to work. They can work anytime between X and X, which meant that if they had kids, they could go to their kids' sporting events. I didn't hunt them down and made sure they showed up at a specific time. So really what happened was they got to create this lifestyle around working. So I created a whole way for them to make X amount of money a month, $500 to $1,000 a month for cleaning certain amount of contracts. And then they could actually work when they wanted to, provided it was on the days the client wants. They could show up with their partner if they wanted to show up with their partner to help crunch down the cleaning times. It was like a whole lifestyle I created for them. And because of that, I actually attracted people who wanted that type of lifestyle and job where they can make extra money and not have to worry about being told when to show up to work at like a Tim Hortons or something like that. This is a really big one. It is, you have to build a lifestyle, because if you're just looking at bringing people in there, jamming them into a building, telling them what to do, having no culture or lifestyle wrapped around it, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to do that. Okay. Next one here is, money is not the answer. I just said with number 2. And if you want the best, you have to be the best. Nobody wants to work for somebody. Like if I'm a boss and I want to bring in the best employees, I have to be better than the best to attract the best. I can't be unethical. I can't have problems in my life and expect that I'm going to get the cream of the crop coming in and working for me. A players want to work with A players. Okay. So that's number 2, is find out why someone would want to work for you. Number 3 is really design your avatar. This is the big one that is going to change everything for you guys. So I'm going to go over here. If you're watching this live, it might be a little bit spotted around here. We're going to get that worked out next week for everybody. Okay. So first off is going to be design your avatar. I'm a terrible drawer, so you guys are going to get a little stick man today. Okay. What an avatar is, it's really your ideal employee that you want to bring into this company. So we have an avatar for our cleaners. We have an avatar for our partners, our appointment setters, our operations, our video people. We have an exact idea of who we want to bring into the company. So it's easier for us to identify them when we're going through 200 applicants or 10 people. You'll be very, very surprised that when you do this, you'll all of a sudden find the exact person you're looking for within, usually immediately, within a day or so. So here's your avatar. What you want to do is you want to put everything around what this avatar should be. So this is the exact avatar I use to hire employees. We had over 250 employees at our peak of having all employees. We had a great culture for them. Our turnover was almost non-existent. It was absolutely fantastic. Okay. So, English. Okay, so for us, it was they had to speak English to the point where we can understand them or communicate via text. We've had people before where they needed to communicate, and if we couldn't understand them, and the translator to do it, and it would just take a massive amount of time for us to find and fix an issue. So because we were so spread out across the country, this one thing became a non-negotiable for us. So they had to have decent amount of English, okay, to the point where we can understand them. Next is cell phone. They had to have a cell phone with data, okay? Big thing is a lot of people have cell phone, but they don't have data with it. The reason why we need data is we need them to do monthly inspections. And if there is some type of a service issue, I didn't want to have to go down to every location when there was a service issue, especially because we were across 3 or 4 cities at that time. I couldn't drive 6 hours if there was an issue. So I wanted them to have data so I could A, get an inspection and pictures from them while they're there. B, I could also FaceTime with them while they're at the location and they could show me what they did and I could take pictures of it or record the screen and then send it to the client after. Having a data was extremely, extremely important. them not having data would always create problems when we would try to solve issues without being on site. And to be honest, it resulted in a lot of clients being upset when we couldn't deliver on what we promised them, which was inspections. Okay. We're going to go into partner to clean with. To clean with. So partner to clean with, we would hire employees, okay, that had a wife that would clean with them, a husband that would clean with them, a brother that would clean with them, a daughter, son, provided they were over age, to clean with them. And then we would train both of them. Now, depending on your province or state, you need to ensure that you can like train both of them and pay one of them. You're going to have to check into labor laws with it. For some provinces, we would have to pay them each an amount, and for other ones we would just pay the husband and the wife would just go with them, and then they'd still be covered under our insurance and everything. But this what this would do is we would train both of them up. This way, if somebody was sick, what would end up happening is the other person would cover for them, or if somebody couldn't make it to work, somebody always knew that location. So we never had to deal with issues of no-shows, going on vacations. Usually the other person would do it if somebody was sick. Like, we never had any of these issues. I could honestly tell you on one hand how many times we would have a call-in sick issue over 400 locations, like in a year. It was insane. Nobody could understood why we would never have to have backup cleaners to fill in for our cleaners if they were sick. It's because we already had that pre-baked in by ensuring that they had a partner or somebody to clean with. Okay. So that's how you're going to stop no-shows and any of that stuff. Okay. The next one is these two kind of go together. Purpose and community. Okay. So when we look to bring somebody on, I look for somebody who is highly influential in a community. So an example is in one of the cities we operated in, they had this meat plant where they would immigrate people here from China, El Salvador, and all of them wanted part-time work. Anybody that I hired, I'd ensure that they had a community with them, and that community there was Maple Leaf, right? And the reason why I'd hire them is because when I went to bring them on, I also knew that they probably knew 3 to 10 other people who were looking for work. I want to make sure that if I hire one person, that one person knows 3 to 5 other people that I could use for other buildings. I don't want to have to go through a hiring process every time. What ends up happening is if they bring on 3 to 5 people they know, they become this little community that works for me. Anytime that I host events or anything, I just contacting one of them and all of them end up coming out. They end up talking about the job when they go to their other job. It is a pre-community and culture that we already have with them. Okay, so it was very, very important that we'd have that. If you don't have a, Maple Leaf where they import people in, look at churches, look at areas, typically a lot of the partners we have are first generation immigrants. I'm a second generation immigrant myself. And you tend to know other people who are in the same situation as you. So you may already have the community. When we would bring people on to that had a ready community in there, what would end up is they wouldn't want to let the person that they brought on down, so that they would train them harder. And the other person that they were training wanted to ensure that they did great work for the person that brought them on. So I never had a lot of issues with complaints or anything, right? The next thing that kind of goes with it is you need to ensure before you bring somebody on that they actually have a purpose to be cleaning for you, okay? So what do I mean by a purpose to clean is they need to have an exact reason as to why they're showing up to clean every single day. Whether that's to send money back home, put their kids through school, buy a new car, go to university, there has to be a reason that they're doing this work, because we never hired people who were full-time. Our whole industry is a part-time industry job basis. So we don't bring people on that are full-time. So I needed to know for sure that these people were 100% committed and they had a purpose they wanted to clean for. So if they were going to put their kids through school, I'd ask them, how much is that? Let's say they said it was like 10K. Be okay. We do our best to get them like $1,000 worth of contracts that they would get paid on. And I just needed to know, and I would put a note in my CRM or like a reminder on my phone that right when about 10 months went by, I would call them and ask if they got their 10K paid off. Okay, because if they didn't get their 10K paid off, great, they're going to keep working for me. But if they got their 10K paid off for school, they don't have a purpose to keep cleaning for me anymore. And what I would always end up finding is that once that purpose was gone, is why they were showing up for their part-time job on top of their full-time job, would go away. And then all of a sudden the cleaning would just start to slowly spiral because there was no reason for them to be there. Okay, full-time. Okay, we only hired part-time employees and we needed these employees to have a full-time job. I don't like calling references for people that are like 6 months old, 2 months old. I don't know if they're real references. So I want to ensure that they always had a full-time job that they're currently at. So I could call their full-time job, be like, hey, we're looking at bringing this person on, right? They have some great qualities. How is their attendance? Do you think if they took on a part-time job, they'd be able to handle it well with their full-time job? Because I don't want to give them a part-time job and then all of a sudden they're working too much and then their full-time job starts to completely suffer. And then we start having issues in both places. And if I got a really good reference from their full-time job, then I would bring them on. Okay, so only hire part-time employees, not full-time employees. If you hire full-time employees, then you're probably going to have to, like, how do I say it? Pay more than minimum wage, right? If you do it this way, where they have a purpose to clean for, where you've designed a reason why they should work for you, they have flexibility, all these things. They don't care about making an extra 50 cents, $1 an hour. They care about all those other perks that go into it. Okay. What's the next one? Experience. I like them to have experience, especially if it's the first one I'm bringing on. Like if it's your first person that you're bringing on, I would ensure that they had experience. And then I would watch them at the beginning to make sure that they're actually not lying about cleaning, because you're going to want this first person to start training all the other people that they end up referring to you and bringing on. Okay. So yeah, so experience is a big thing. I would have them actually make sure they had experience. I don't like training new cleaners. I want them to even just have a little bit of experience. So they're not shocked with how fast we want people to clean. Okay. And then lastly is location in mind. We want to give them a specific location. I don't hire people for the sake of hiring people. I made this mistake when I was in Brandon. It was 40,000 people. You could get from one end of the city to another end in 5 minutes. So I never had to think about location. Then we started going to Winnipeg, Regina, Calgary, Edmonton, and I'd bring somebody onto the north, not even looking where they lived. And then I give them a location in the south. And then all of a sudden I'd have issues because they don't want to travel 45 minutes every day. Okay. So I have a rule when I'm hiring employees, I don't want them to travel more than 20 minutes to get to a location. Anything more than 20 minutes of driving time, I find that there's always some type of excuse that they can't have, that they're going to have. Okay. And lastly is a car. They have to have a car in good working order. I don't need some jalopy that's barely hanging on, that they're going to blow out on the highway and I'm going to have an issue, or that doesn't start in the middle of winter. I don't want any that stuff. So I need to have them a decent working car. Preferably, I'd like them to have a vehicle and I'd like their partner to have a vehicle. So if something goes, I don't have to jump on top of it and deal with it. Okay, so this is the avatar I had of, because the partner, this took care of me not having to go down and see a location. This took care of me building a community and a culture with people because they brought people on. They had purpose to show up every single day. And I would always talk about it. I didn't have to worry about paying benefits because everybody was part-time. And because they were part-time, I had a lot of people. So if somebody quit on me, let's say, I had people begging for work all the time. If you don't have people begging for work, you have an issue. I was just talking with our temp contract department today. And in one of the locations, we have more contracts than we have people, temps. And I was like, that's just a disaster. You need to have at least 5 to 10 people begging you for work all the time so that you're able to be in control of who you give it to. It's the same thing goes for your employees, okay? Car and then location handles with the driving time. So design your avatar. It looks like that. And then these are the people that you're looking for. If, I guess the next spot is where we're going to kind of go into is post your ad or reach out to people that meet your avatar. So when I say post your ad, what I mean by post your ad is you're going to want to either put this in Kijiji, Indeed, flyer at your church. You're going to want to put it somewhere where you're going to start to get attraction from people, and people are going to start filling out forms, sending you their resume and coming to you. If you already know somebody that matches this avatar, then reach out to that person and go from there. But if you don't, you have to use those avenues to bring people in. We use Indeed, but currently right now, what we're doing is possibly using, sorry, what was Cindy going to say there?
What type of questions should I be asking when I interview for hires?
Yeah, we'll get into that right away. Good question. Okay, so Indeed, we just started using what I was going to say is Facebook. Okay, for to find employees. A lot cheaper than Indeed. Quality seems to be a little bit more targeted as well too. So using Facebook for it, if you build out a page, you could actually post a job on there and then sponsor it, and you'll get some really good quality people. Okay, so that is posting your job and make sure it meets your avatar. Next one is really interview and make a decision. Okay, so once you have people come in, you're going to want to make sure that you interview 10 people for every one person you hire. Every single time that I've hired somebody and I've gone 1 for 1, 1 for 2, it has always been a rush decision hire to try to solve a problem. And every single time I have looked past red flags of people, I have looked past all of this stuff. And it has created a bigger issue for me than if I just would have interviewed 10 people. Now, if you know the perfect avatar because they're at your church and you've been around with them for a while, you don't need to interview 10 people for that. But yeah, I believe somebody's asking, what are red flags? A red flag is really just a major thing that somebody throws up in your face when you're interviewing them. It is like a non-negotiable. So if I tell somebody, I'm like, hey, I need you to work between 5:30 and 11 o'clock Monday to Friday. And they're like, you know what? Yeah, that's not a problem. But I usually have sports and soccer to do Tuesday, Thursdays. So I'll see if I can make it between that time when I'm cleaning. That is like a giant red flag that if you bring that person on, they're probably not going to show up on those days, even though they said maybe to it. So you need to look to see if there's any of these red flags that kind of come up. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Look for red flags, set up barriers. Second one is set up barriers. So when I say set up barriers, I'll do things like I'll ask people to phone me instead of phoning them for an interview. I want to see if they'll actually call me. I don't want to make it very easy for them to get a job. We have people fill out DISC assessments and personality assessments that are 35 questions. We just want to see if they go through the process of it. We ask people to send 60-second videos to us of themselves to see if they'll do it. You'll be surprised, out of 10 people we want to hire, they are perfect. And they're on the last step, which is the video. 2 people will do the video. And all that's telling me is that when I'm telling them to do something, if they think it's stupid what I want, they're just not going to do it. And I don't want to deal with things like that. So you set up some barriers to see if they're the right candidate and if they're going to do what they're told versus do what they want to do. Because if they're going to do what they want to do versus do what they're told, it's going to be a major issue for you in the long run. Okay. Get references. Okay. So you really want to ensure that you have a reference of their full-time job and then maybe some of their other jobs. You want to also look at their resume to see how long their tenure is at places. If they're like 6 months, 2 months, 5 months, 7 months, there's no point. You're going to have them for such a short period of time because they're the type of people with issues. You want somebody who's at a full-time job for like a year or 2. So you know that they're not going anywhere, preferably if they have more roots within a community where their kids are going to school, they go to church, their marriage is happy, they have all this good stuff going on in their life, you're going to get a better class of person. If you have somebody that's, fighting to go through divorce, having issues, you're going to end up adopting a lot of their problems. And because of that, it's going to take away from your business of just rocking it out and cleaning and growing it. Okay. And then interview questions. There's a ton of interview questions that you could have. There's simple ones from, do you have cleaning experience? And then you could get into like specifics, like how long does it take you to mop a floor? When should you change a mop bucket? So if they say they have cleaning experience, you start asking them questions specifically about cleaning. That works. Ask them, how far do you drive to your job? How far are you willing to drive? The more questions that you can kind of ask them to feel them out on if they're willing to do all these things and be the perfect person for that location is really important. You have to ask them, do you have a partner to clean with? Is she going to be available while we do training? Do you have a cell phone with data? Can you send me a video text message right now? Why do you want this job? If you already have a full-time job, can you tell me, right? Is there a purpose behind it? Are you trying to send money back home? How much is that, right? Church, or do you go to church? Know people that if I asked you for referrals or references, you'd send them to me, right? What's your full-time job, right? Are you trying to start your own business? Why cleaning? Why not something else? Tell me about your experience in cleaning. This is where, like, if I ask somebody their experience and they're like, oh, I got tons of experience cleaning. I'm like, okay, tell me about it. And they're like, well, I clean my house all the time. Not the same type of cleaning that I'm looking for. I'm actually looking for specific types of cleaning, like commercial cleaning. So we're using mop buckets, dust mops, all these things. And tell me about your car. What year is it? Is it warranty? So these are all the questions that I end up asking. I want to ask the questions to see if they fit the avatar. And if they fit the avatar, then they're good to hire. Hope that answers your question. Okay. And then the last one is, once you know and you whittled it down to maybe 2-3 people that are kind of all the same, you got to trust your gut. I mean, I have had people that looked like perfect candidates in front of me and just something about them was off and I did not go with them. And then I found out later on that they had a lot of problems in their life. And I like completely dodged a bullet. And I have other times not trusted my gut and been like, you know what? I think I'm wrong on this one. I'm going to hire them. And I totally should have trusted my gut. So trust your gut at the end of it and go with the one that you think is going to be the most successful. And then keep the other 2 on file in case you need them later on. Okay. So that's once you made a decision, interview to make a decision. And then the last one is get them excited. And housekeeping. Okay, we're not going to go into the training aspect of it. We're really just going to go over getting them excited. Now that you've said yes to them, you want to keep them extremely excited about choosing your company. So send them an expectation email. Hey, here's what the expectation is. Here's the building that we have. You've probably already gone over it with them, but now you're going to give them the full details. When your training starts, how much you're going to get paid, when you get paid, all that stuff that you would have talked about them in the interview. You want to now send it to an email and a formal employment agreement for them that they have to sign so they understand the expectations. The clearer you are with somebody when they start about what the expectations are, what you need from them, the better it's going to be as you're going through. You are constantly going to have to remind them of what the expectations are because people kind of veer off over time. But nonetheless, you have to give them an expectation sheet. Send them any video training that you want them to watch. So we send our partners, and what we used to send is like video training about the equipment that they're going to have, how to use it, what happens if they're going to have to miss a day, how they communicate it with us, what day their paydays were, what forms and information we need from them. I didn't want to sit down with somebody at a Tim Hortons and do that 2-3 times a week. So we just made videos for them to all go through and do it. Send them the TD1 form. So if they're an employee, you have to send them a TD1 form to get them all of their information, SIN number, address, all that stuff. If they're a subcontractor of yours, you're going to need to still have SIN number, address, all that information. So you're still going to have an employee form in some way. And then lastly, a big one is if you can, have them introduced to the rest of the team. I used to have other cleaners call them and welcome themselves to the team and let them know if they have any issues. They can also help them out, as well as I used to send video, have them send video to them saying, welcome to the team. I'm really excited. Okay. So that is how I go about hiring everybody. So first one is commit. Second one is find out why someone would want to work for you. Third one is design the avatar. Fourth one is post your ad and reach out to people you know that know your avatar. Fifth one is interview, make a decision. Sixth one is get them excited and housekeeping. Boom, done. Any questions?
Sydney asked, should I pay per hour?
No, you shouldn't pay per hour because that's actually a really good question. Okay. I never, ever paid per hour. If you broke it down, I ended up paying per hour, but the way it would work is this. Let's say there was $1,000 contract. Okay. And let's say minimum wage, and for the allotted hours that they had would have been $500. Okay. So let's say that would have been $500. And the way you do that math is, we'll do it this way. Okay. Let's say the contract is 5 days a week for 2 hours a day. And that would equal $30 a day. 3, 6, 9, 12, 30, 150 a week is what you would pay them. Times that by 4. So you would have $600 you would pay them, okay, per month. So they would work 5 days a week for 2 hours a day. It would be $30 a day. So if you go 5 for the 2 hours, it's $150. You're paying them a week. Times that by 4 equals $600. Okay. So let's say the contract was $1,200. You're paying them $600. Obviously there's CPP supplies and everything on top of it. So that's going to happen. Let me just move this a little bit. So that's going to happen here. Okay. So you're paying them $600. I would tell them that for this contract, that's $1,000. I'm going to pay you $600 a month for it. Okay. Now, if it's an employee, again, depending on your state or province, you might have to pay them twice a month minimum. So in Manitoba, we had to pay people twice a month. So I would pay them $300 on the 1st and then $300 on the 15th. For Saskatchewan, I was allowed to pay them monthly. So I just paid them $600 once a month, period. Okay. That was it. So that's how we ended up paying them. They were fixed amounts. Yes, it was minimum wage still, but what they saw was the $600. That would excite them. So they go, oh, okay, I'm going to get $600 a month. You're going to pay me to show up and clean this place. And if they finished it in an hour and a half one day, I don't care. I'm still going to pay them the $600. But if they finished it in 2 hours and a half, I am only going to pay them the 2 hours, right? The only time we paid more is if there was specific circumstances like a giant snowstorm and we had to go in and mop an extra 2 hours to get the rock salt off the floor. Then we would work on paying them more. But it was their responsibility to get it done within the 2 hours. Okay. So I never paid people hourly. I always talked what they made on a contract per month. So it got them excited about it. If your minimum wage is 15, like it is in Alberta here, you know, that's not exciting. That's not exciting in any way at all. Be like, well, I'm going to give you $15 for that hour work. But you start talking at, well, I'm actually going to give you $600 for it, or I'm going to give you $7,200 a year to show up, is what it boils down to. Okay. So I always try to quantify how much they're going to get because those numbers sound a lot more exciting than $15 an hour. Okay. So that is every single thing I have for you. Just so you guys are aware, this isn't going into the training aspect of it. I could actually go a lot deeper into the commitment in every single one of these sections. But to be brutally honest, guys, I want for you guys to have, this is a process in itself to do, okay? Where people are gonna see what I just did, they're gonna go, I don't wanna do that much work to bring the right person on. So I'm just gonna, you know, hire to solve a problem. And then you're going to find out you're going to have a way bigger problem when you start losing work to it. The whole point is for you to get really good cleaners that you don't need to manage. They just do the job on their own. So you could spend your time during the day finding new clients, developing your brand, and working on your business. Okay. If there's no other questions, I'll leave the floor open for a couple minutes here if anybody else has a question. If not, we're going to wrap it up. We'll go from there. Nope. I think that's good for everything now, guys. Thank you so much. Like I said before, starting Monday, 12 o'clock to 12:30, we are going to be doing a YouTube live every day, 365 days a year. We're going to be emailing you the link to it all, so you guys have it. But if you want to just go to our YouTube channel, Masters Janitorial Academy, we are going to be there to help you out. We'll be doing a short form video like this every single day live, probably 15, 20 minutes. And then we're going to open the floor up for live Q&A. Any questions you have, we'll sit back and answer them. And we're going to sit back and assist you guys and help it out. Thank you so much for taking the time and spending it with us today. I'd love if you guys can actually email Sydney and see what questions you have and how we can improve this process for you. I know Neil's here, Harp's here. Actually, there's a lot of people here, but I would really appreciate it, guys. So thank you guys so much, and I hope you guys have a great day.